What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to Show and Tech. So with every release of an Apple product, it seems like everybody gets a case of the Bader Meinhof slash frequency illusion phenomena. And if you don't know what that is, essentially think of when you go to buy a truck. You want to buy a truck, so you buy a white one because you think it's the one that no one else is going to have. Yours is going to be totally unique. And as soon as you come to that decision, everybody around you seems to be driving a white truck. It's like every other car that you see or every other vehicle that you see on the road just happens to be that white truck. So that phenomenon seems to happen with a lot of things in life. And for whatever reason, it definitely seems to be happening with Apple products every time they drop a new item. So this time around, it's the M1 iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch variant with the mini LED screen. And the big issue that everybody seems to have with it this time around is the fact that there is this quote unquote blooming that seems to be happening whenever people are looking at the display. So I've had the 2021 iPad Pro for about 10 days now, and for the first 5 or 6 days, I actually had zero issues with it. I've been loving the screen. I love how the HDR content looks. I love how contrasty it is compared to my 2020 model. But it wasn't until that 5 or 6 day mark where I started noticing that a lot of people on Twitter seem to have complaints about the display of the newest 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And then it went from Twitter to all of a sudden I'm seeing these videos pop up on YouTube where people are talking about how terrible this blooming effect is. So if you don't know what blooming is, that's essentially it. You will have a area of deep contrast. So you can have like a very dark black background, and then right beside it, you'll have, very bright white text. And what's going to happen is with those mini LEDs on the inside is that white portion of the screen is going to spill over into the black, and then you have that glowing effect around the lettering. I've watched a bunch of videos and I've read a ton of articles about this whole blooming thing that's taking place, and you really have to scrutinize those videos from the mindset of someone who is just an average user and somebody who intends to use the iPad as such. So with those videos, they put the iPad in all of these unrealistic scenarios. So they say, I'm going to put it in a pitch black room. There's no lighting. All the windows are blocked. We're going to turn the screen brightness up to 100%. I'm going to find a deep black background and we're going to throw some white text on it and see if there's any blooming. Now, sure, when you put it in that situation, you're probably going to see some glowing or some distortion because one, your eyes aren't meant to work that way. You're not supposed to be in a pitch black room with a super bright 600 nit or 600 nit plus screen that's pushing all this light into your eye. You're going to have some distortion. You're going to have some artifacting. You're going to have a lot of weird things that show up on the screen, and nobody uses their iPad like that on a regular day-to-day basis anyway. So whatever it is that you see when you do something like that or put it in that type of situation doesn't speak to 99% of the time when you're using it in a regular lit environment like this, or even in a bedroom where, yeah, there is going to be some other light sources, or maybe it's going to be pitch black, but you're not going to be using it on 100% brightness. I have had my iPad Pro for over a year now, and there's never been a single situation where I sat in the darkness and wanted to turn it up to 100% brightness to begin with. You'd be hard pressed to find me put it past 50% if you're being very honest, or even as low as 25% when I'm watching movies or whatever it might be. You're not going to turn it up that high to use it, number one. And number two, you're also not going to be zooming in on single letters to see if there's any glow around those letters as a reason why you shouldn't enjoy your purchase. So they just put it in a lot of situations that are super unrealistic and are meant to blow everything out of proportion just to get you guys to click and watch the video. So doing a quick example myself, I'm sitting in a pretty well lit room. It's about 5 p.m. The sun is starting to go down a little bit, but the overall lighting is what you can expect on a regular day-to-day basis. So if I go ahead and just open up the Notes app on my iPad. So on the Notes app in dark mode, the screen is true black. I'm just going to quickly use my iPencil. I've set the ink to white. And if I just start writing something here, so I'll just write in big letters, show and tech, like so. When you're looking at it from the camera, there's really no issue here, right? So I could write whatever it is. I could do some squiggly lines. I can doodle. I can do a happy face, whatever it might be. And with my brightness right now, it's currently turned all the way up. and in a regular daylight setting, there's no issue. If I were to turn the brightness down a little bit, still no issue. This is probably more akin to what you would actually be using the iPad like on a regular day-to-day basis. Or if I back out and go to my regular note-taking app, which I always do use a true black background, and zoom in on the text like they do in the videos, do I see any blooming or anything that's going to make me want to throw my iPad away and lose my mind? No, everything looks totally fine. But again, if I were to put this in a completely blacked out room and turn the brightness all the way up to the maximum, then yeah, you're going to start to see some funky things. You always see funky things when you have true black next to a very bright white. It's just what happens, right? So again, don't let that be your deterrent. If you were thinking, I really want an iPad Pro, I want the 12.9-inch version, but now I'm worried that the screen is not going to look good. I mean, honestly, I didn't want this video to be a rant, but it makes me laugh how exaggerated people get when it comes to trying to show this blooming that's happening with the screens, where they're zooming in so far into text and looking at the fine lines around the text to say that, this is a problem. It shouldn't be doing this. Apple should have caught this before. Like, this is terrible quality control. Why would they use mini LEDs? The reason is because, again, nobody uses their iPad like that. So I guess at the end of the day, it does come down to, personal preferences and opinions, but this is definitely something that I think has bloomed. I know, terrible joke, but been blown out of proportion 100%. Do not let this deter you from grabbing that 12.9-inch iPad Pro. If that was something that you had your mind set on, I guarantee you that you're not going to have any issues when it comes to using your iPad as it was intended, for those of you who already knew what your personal use case was going to be. But honestly, what do you guys think? Is this a big deterrent for you? Like, do you see this being a problem or a reason not to buy an iPad? Like, do you really think that this whole blooming issue is as true as people are making it seem? Or do you think that it's been something that's blown out of proportion? As always, leave your comments down below. I'm always ready to talk to you guys, answer any questions that you might have. For those of you who are on the fence because of the blooming, if you want to see anything specific, you want me to throw some examples up on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever it might be, just feel free to let me know down below in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can with that information to help you make an informed purchase. That's been it for me. Much love as always, throwing up 2 of them, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.